This is a No Surf Music, Burning River Fireside Chat with guests, those Darlins. I'm your host, Jason D. Diesel HAMAD. For the best in Americana, alt country, indie rock, and more, point your browser to nosurfmusic.com. So, this is another edition of No Surf Music's Burning River Fireside Chats. And joining me today are longtime No Surf friends, those Darlins. Welcome back, guys.
Hey.
Good to be back.
And this is the second time you're sitting down for one of these interviews, so I'm really happy to have you. And you just released a new album, so we're going to be talking a lot about that. But before we do that, why don't you introduce yourself to everybody, and we'll start here on my left.
I'm Nikki, and I play guitar.
And I'm Adrian, and I play bass guitar.
I'm Linwood, and I play
With
the
yourself?
drums
Drum
and
guitar?
myself and many things.
I'm Jessie, I play guitar.
All right. So I guess this is the first time that you've been back in Cleveland for a while. We were just discussing that. It's been about a year. But you are here at the Beachland Tavern for a headlining show. And it's the first time I'm going to get to hear a lot of your new stuff live. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. You've been out on tour for what now, like 2 weeks since the release or something like that?
Not even 2 weeks yet, I don't think.
No, more
It'll be
than
2
that.
days. Oh wait, almost. I guess on Wednesday it'll be 2 weeks. So yeah, I'm kind of splitting
Really? I
hairs.
feel like it's been more than that.
It's either 2 or 3 weeks. It's one of those. Whatever.
It's two.
Somewhere in
Yeah.
there.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't really matter. Point is, so how have people been reacting since you've been out playing the new stuff? What are you hearing from the fans?
So far, it's been very positive reviews. Nobody.
Well, you haven't heard
haven't
mine
gotten
yet.
I haven't got any negative reviews, but most people don't come up to you and tell you that they didn't like it.
You can be brutally honest with us.
Yeah.
Oh, I
take
always
it.
am. No, actually, I really dug the album. Our review's going to be coming out next week when this interview does.
Awesome.
But I wanted to definitely hit a couple of the songs and talk about them with you guys first. So I guess we'll just start off with sort of the basics of the album. It's called Blur the Line. And this is your third release as those Darlins. And it's the first one with this lineup. So I guess my first question is, having Adrian on bass this time around, were there any sort of changes as far as how you approached the album or how you played it or anything like that?
This time around, we used to switch instruments a lot, and before going into this one, we sort of just decided to. Well, we had to sort of pick what we were going to play because we had to look for a fourth member, and so for the last year and a half, me and Nikki was kind of the one. She was deciding between bass and guitar because she had been doing a lot of bass stuff
Right.
towards the end of the Screws tour. So she decided to move back to guitar, and then we got Adrian, and just over the last year and a half or 2 years of us sticking to just playing guitar, and no one switching, and everyone sort of having their formal instruments really helped us define our sound a little better and kind of not step on each other's toes musically, which was sort of the goal, I think, of this album, and sonically to make sure that nothing was on there that didn't need to be, that everything was in its exact right place.
Okay. So when you finally settled, it's like you said, you and Nikki are on guitar, and you've got a full-time bass player for the first time. So I guess for you, Nikki, since you were playing a lot more guitar on this album, I think, than you have in the past, what was that change like for you? I mean, did it affect the way that you went into the studio, or did it affect the way that you worked on songs from the beginning?
It's still I've always written songs on guitar, but playing in the studio is different. I mean, I don't think I played electric guitar on the past 2 records at all, so I don't know. It just made me work a lot harder and focus on one instrument mainly instead of just picking things up, playing a little bit here and there. I feel like it's been really good to have a main focus of an instrument.
And I think that like me and Nikki work together on our guitar parts a lot, like
Yeah.
intertwining them together, but also like and like having complementary parts. But also our producer Roger, that was sort of like his forte a little bit as well. So he helped us a lot, taking what we were already doing and then moving it up into like I think like having a bunch more ideas on how to like work those parts together and play off of each other. So I think it was cool because me and Nikki have like a natural, I don't know what it's called, thing.
Well, you got a thing
You
already.
get a natural thing from playing together.
Rapport, is that kind of what you're looking for?
Yeah, I mean, like we're close friends. We've been around each other. We've played together a million shows. We just sort of can like musically feel like where the other one's going, and so that was really cool to put into both the guitar parts and just play together.
Gotcha. Okay. So you mentioned that having more defined roles allowed you to kind of lock in on your style a little bit more. Excuse me. And obviously that has changed a lot from when you started off in two different ways. The first way is not so much musical, but it's kind of I guess an image thing, because you started out as a 3-person all-girl group on the first album. And then on the second album, you added drums with Lynn. And then for this album, you've now gone to a 2-person, 2-girl, 2-guy lineup. So I'm just wondering kind of, it is those Darlins. The Darlins thing is obviously sort of a feminine marking. So how has this new lineup affected, I guess, the way you see the band as far as the girl leadership of it, or the way your image has been projected? They're smiling at each other right now.
I feel like now more than ever, there's less of like a female like leadership or like a leadership in general. Like I feel like we're all kind of like a little bit more. I don't know.
I don't really feel like it's changed at all. I never like.
Yeah, I don't think.
It was always like about. It doesn't matter if it's one girl or 20 girls in the band. People are always going to say girl-fronted band. It's like especially if the girl plays an instrument, it's always going to be girl who plays instrument. Like headline. So,
Freak show.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I don't feel like it's really changed. I don't feel that different in the way that I never felt like, oh, I'm like a girl playing music, and this is like a big deal or anything. I just was like, I'm a musician. I like to play music.
Yeah.
And then and then people would point out the fact that I was also a girl. But I mean, it has changed in a way because now I'm like a little bit more open to talking about like a feminine perspective. Mm-hmm. Whereas before I would just be like, it doesn't matter. There's no difference. We're all the same. We're all musicians. And now I feel like, there's a little bit of a difference because there aren't as many girls around, and so, but I wouldn't say that it's like something that like we purposely are trying to put out there. We're not trying to hide it. We're not trying to put it out there. We're just trying to be ourselves.
Right. Well, I think we kind of hit on that a little bit the last time we got to talk when we were discussing your song "Be Your Bro." Mm-hmm. Because, I mean, I went into a lot of detail analyzing that in the review, and I think a lot of people who listened to it did too. And it is, on the one hand, kind of could be viewed as something of a feminist anthem. Mm-hmm. And on the other hand, I know just from talking to you and also just from knowing you that you didn't write it at all meaning for that. It was just a personal experience kind of a thing. And I think to some extent what you were just talking about is the same way. I mean, whatever you guys do, you're going to be viewed a certain way. Mm-hmm. Because, I mean, there are people who like girl-fronted bands or people who don't specifically. Or people who, like the way that a woman's voice sounds or people who don't or whatever. So I think more for the fans than anything else, there's always going to be some analysis that you don't necessarily want to fall into.
Yeah.
I think it's funny that you guys always got like pigeonholed so much as like girl band, like especially with like Be Your Bro. Like Be Your Bro to me as a fan when we toured together before, just listening to it, like it's funny on that level of being a girl who just wants you to be her bro or whatever.
Yeah.
But it totally applies to guys too. It's the same kind of thing. It's like just because like you're my friend doesn't mean that like we're gonna like have some kind of like romantic or sexual relationship.
Yeah.
Just
So
spending
stop
a lot of
hitting on
time
him,
with
Win.
someone. Spending a lot of time with someone.
Yeah. Bros.
Just
I
bros.
hear that enough.
I also think that like maybe the difference between who we were then and like or who I was then and who I am now is that I've realized like over time that from the fact that people do point that out and analyze it and sort of, I don't know if pigeonhole is the word, but it's certainly like can be like a little bit frustrating when someone just says a girl band and it's like, okay, that doesn't
any
describe
label.
anything about
Yeah.
like the music or what,
Right.
what our message is or whatever. So now I guess like one thing I have realized over time is whether I like it or not, just by being a female who other people, other women are looking up to, I am a role model, and what I do, my actions do matter. You know what I mean? In terms of like, whatever, because people are going to say. I mean, that's really my only point. It's just that I realize like the responsibility that comes with being like a female in. But I don't think that's really. That's anyone who's going to be like a public figure is going to have a responsibility to like be an influence. They're going to be an influence. So it's just whatever kind of influence they want to be. But anyone in life, any female, doesn't matter if they're a public figure or not, it has a responsibility to be whatever kind of influence they want to be. So it's not really just about that. But I guess I noticed like we toured with Best Coast and she had a bunch of like young girls that would come out to see her play and stuff. And I really realized like, whoa, this could be a good opportunity to like,
Mold the
be a
future
really
of
good
America.
example for these young girls who are just like, probably don't have a lot of people in their life telling them to like be badasses and like be individuals and and stand up for themselves and like not just be like whatever, all about their shoes and their hair and their clothes and stuff. That's not like the most important thing in life.
Okay, well said. So I guess the other major change over time, now talking musically with the band, has been the style that you play, obviously. You sort of started out in a more country mode and have transitioned into more rock kind of a thing, and we talked about that when your last album came out as well. But it did seem like there was even something of a change going from Screws Get Loose to Blur the Line. How did you guys approach this album? Were there any new influences that you sort of tapped into, or what really drove the sound on this album?
I think one of the things is like on Screws Get Loose, we didn't rehearse very much. We went in there with those songs. You don't have to wipe that off to me. We went in there with songs, and some of them we never really played. You know what I mean? So this time we spent a couple months working on songs. So certain songs I feel like if we'd have just gone to a studio off the bat, they may not have evolved into what they did. Sitting around rehearsing them for however long.
Yeah, we practiced a lot, like for a long,
We spent longer in the studio than we did in school.
Yeah, we also spent more time.
yeah,
on
we
the
spent
actual
about a
record.
year and a half like writing the record. We spent several months.
There we go. Sorry
Thank
about
you.
that. Yeah.
We spent several months recording.
Is that a burger?
I don't know. Recording like about a month and a half in the studio, but we did pre-production with the producer. I mean, we really put a lot of time into it, and so I think the rehearsal time was really a lot. I mean, we have some new influences. I mean, you're always looking to find like some new like music that's inspiring. You can't listen to the same stuff all the time and then expect to be like making something that's, exciting
Fresh
or
and-
whatever.
yeah.
But I would also just say that like everybody like brought like all four of us brought a piece of our personalities into it when we were like working on the songs too. It was like
So
like a
this
really
configuration, it makes like we're gonna be a different sound.
yeah.
also,
It's like
and,
how did you get the sound? It's just like we all just like put a little piece of it in there, and then that's what we came. And then plus what Roger added in the studio. It's just like the five of us combined, and that's what we came up with. So
Wonder Twin Powers.
yeah.
Yeah, I was blown away when I heard the stuff just at the beginning stages when I first was kind of just like hanging around. That's why I kind of think I ended up here. I was just hanging around.
Yeah, we're like, did you get this guy out of here?
I'm pretty familiar with that
They're
stuff.
just sitting in the back playing a little bass. They didn't
You
even
hang
know.
around long enough, then all of a sudden they're stuck with you.
You're
My
right.
tip for anyone out there trying to become a bass player, why would you?
What is that?
I don't know.
Burger?
It's some sort of a veggie burger,
Hi,
probably.
everybody.
Who knows?
I'm eating a veggie burger.
We're trying to decipher what the Beachland has brought Jesse
Look,
here.
open that. It's just a
They have
freaking
wonderful
hamburger.
food here,
like
but
roast
sometimes it's a mystery.
It looks like a veggie burger.
I think it is.
I don't see what the big deal is.
I don't either.
Lynn is just a
Next
curious
question.
individual. He's just got to know these
That
things.
smile, he's
And-
just smiling so much, it makes it funny.
What is that, burger?
He kept going, just whispering, he's got a burger.
Why the hell did I get one of those? This damn chicken. Who wants chicken? So now I totally forgot what the hell we were talking
We're
about.
talking about like our new sound and how it was like a group
Indeed.
effort.
Okay.
And we put a lot of time into it. It really was just like hours of practicing. It's just like, it just morphed that way. We just go in every day, spend like 3 or 4 hours playing 1 or 2 songs, and then go back. We didn't, like on Screws, we just like wrote the songs and we like made some demos. Not even with the whole band, like half the songs were demos with just one person doing all the stuff on it. Then we went in the studio and we're like, okay, everybody just figure it out. And then it was done. But with this one, we wrote like 30 songs as opposed to like, 11 or 12 for the Screws. Then we wrote like 30 songs and then we just started sort of like playing them all. And then the ones that started feeling better or moving faster. And then we, instead of just like working on a song for one day and being like, it's done, we would work on a song and then we'd be like, okay, we don't know what else to do with this. Put it in the pocket, work on another one, and then like a week later, be like, let's work on that one again, and then do that over time, and it just like it helped spread it all out, and everything was not just like, because sometimes you can you get really excited when you first write a song, and it's really easy to just be like, oh my god, this song is so awesome, I can't wait to record it, and just like put all of your effort into it, and just like do it right then or whatever. And then, or like the whole album even, like, this album is so awesome, I love these songs, this is going to be so great. Then you do it like the first day you write the song or whatever, and then you look back later and you're like, oh, we really didn't, like, after you play the song live for like 2 years, you're like, man, we play it better now than we did then, or like whatever. So we were like trying to make it to where we really put like the time in on the front end, and it wasn't going to be like that when we toured on it so long, and they're like, oh, this is so different, we should have done it this way.
So that actually brings up an interesting point. You said you spent a lot of time rehearsing sort of in studio and beforehand, but did you guys get the chance to play out some of the songs before?
No, well, we
live,
put
or
out a
did
couple
you-
times, but
Not really before.
maybe only
recorded.
twice
Not
before we
It sounds,
recorded.
up until recording, we were still breaking things down and like,
Breaking
like
faces.
looking at, breaking bones. No,
We did.
But Roger helped a lot too on certain things where he had some ideas on some stuff.
Yeah, we did a weird show that was like
Charleston?
no, we played
What
a few
at
shows out,
Oviedo?
but we did this
yeah,
like
we did
secret
Oviedo.
show that we just invited like all of our close friends,
Okay.
our producer, like all the people that work for us.
And not
Basically,
me.
yeah.
Well,
It was like,
next
it
time.
was like, I don't know, it was just like all of the people in our crew in Nashville, and we just invited them to come, and we were like, we just want to try out some stuff for you guys, so just like chill. And we did it, and it was like really cool. It was like,
it was sort of a warm because we're playing South by Southwest
yeah.
a couple days after that, and we didn't want to go down there and play a show after not having played in front of anybody for months.
Makes sense.
You know,
Yeah,
Or
so.
ever with Adrian.
But that
Yeah,
helped
true.
a lot doing that because our producer was there, and then and then he would say, okay, this song needs like this or whatever, and then he came back and watched us rehearse several times, and we rehearsed in his studio and made some demos. We went into a studio and made demos of all the songs. We picked 15 songs out of the 30 to focus on, because we had made a bunch of demos ourselves of all the songs, all 30 of them, but they were all like, some were stripped down, some were like full band, whatever. Then we went into the studio and we picked like 15 songs, and then we made demos in the studio, like live demos, and then those were cool, and then we ended up re-recording them all, obviously.
Okay. Sounds like an interesting process. You worked a lot harder, I think, on this, getting everything laid down than you ever have before. So
I think the key was that we were all really much more patient this time. You know, it was like there was no like, yeah, except for Linwood, but
yeah, hothead Lynn over there, right?
I just think we've all gotten to the point from experience that we're like, all right, there's no need to rush, like just get it right, you know.
So do you think that having gone through the process a few times before, that you are sort of more mature as musicians now, and
Sure.
you're able to approach it differently?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, if you do something, over and over again, you can't help but become more mature about it.
Oh, you can help it if you really want to.
Is that my plate?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay, this one.
I moved it so she could put down the other stuff. Sorry about that.
No problem.
Anyway,
Where you're eating with a skewer.
Interesting
One person in
technique.
the world that eats
that
way.
was
Resorting.
totally my bad.
Sandwich eaten by a skewer.
Took me all night to eat the sandwich.
That's just me being devious. I want to see if I can totally screw you up. I also stole your guitar
Screw me up?
before.
Yeah.
So anyway, before we move on to talking about a couple of the individual songs, then, just one question for the newest member.
That's me.
Exactly, because
Did I get it right? Oh.
I think so. That's it. Interview over. No, it's all good. No, I just wanted to ask, because this is your first time recording with the group, and obviously every time you had a new player, you had a new dynamic, as Jesse alluded to a little bit earlier. You were a fan of their music before you ever started playing with them, right?
Super fan.
I
you
wouldn't
might
say
even say
fan, but I was familiar with
You
it.
heard some of it
We toured-
around.
Yeah,
we toured
you were
with
I heard you were
Fireside.
a fan.
President
I
of the damn fan
was always a really big fan of theirs from day one. No, as soon as I met them, we became friends and fans of each other, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll go with maybe fans.
Yeah.
Yeah, not friends.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
still working on the friends.
I'll admit that you liked me. I don't know if I liked you. It's another thing
Yeah,
entirely.
Exactly.
Okay, well, so I guess having heard the work that they did prior to your joining the band, and then having the experience of playing with them on this new album, what do you think you specifically brought to the recording that maybe wasn't there before, that maybe has changed since the new lineup has come in?
I think there's like a different level of excitement that I kind of came in with, just about being like new, not only to their band, but new to playing bass. I had never played bass before. And it was...
Which is funny, that's kind of how they found their drummer, too. Sort of.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah, he plays
People
drums.
just come out.
Yeah.
And they
They
were like,
just
you're going to play
convert
what we
people.
want you to
You
play.
just convert people. No, but I mean,
Force of personality there, Jesse.
it's a really fun challenge to, and I'm still trying to learn how to do it. You know, it's usually like the job you give to your buddy that doesn't know how to play anything, and then they know how to play guitar and try to convert being a guitar player to playing bass. But it's really a lot more to it than that, and it's exciting. And it's always really, from the minute I met them and we toured together in different configurations and things like that, but just the level of musicianship, not magicianship. I haven't used any of them yet. I've been using all my slurring tickets now. No, they were just such good musicians and so fun to be around that like I caught onto their excitement, and hopefully I brought something like that to what they did. And just like, another perspective, I think they're kind of used to like strong personalities playing with each other for a long time, and everyone coming at, like, when I joined in the band, most of the music was like the ideas were all there, and I brought some of my own ideas into some of that, but it was more like kind of like all of us trying to wrangle was already kind of down there. So it wasn't like a situation where anyone was like, I'm really invested personally only in this one song. It was more of a group kind of effort.
Yeah.
So it was nice to have like, you know, another person on board that's in that same mind frame, you know.
Okay.
Totally.
Yeah.
Very cool. So that said, I'm going to make you guys invest personally in a couple of your songs now, if you don't mind, just so we can talk about a few of them. Yeah, I know. Talking about your own work sucks, but you gotta do it. No, I think this collection had a number of really strong pieces on it. So I just want to highlight a couple and then kind of open things up for you to talk about too. But I guess let's just start off with the leadoff track, "Oh God," which I have to say may well be the coolest piece I've ever heard out of you guys in a lot of ways. Can you just sort of walk our listeners through that song a little bit and what you were thinking and sort of how you set the mood? Because it's a very mood-dependent kind of a song.
Well, I wrote the song, the lyrics, and just the melody of the vocals, and brought that in. It was just like a demo that was just like me and acoustic guitar playing that, and it, you know, without any of the other instrumentation, the song is like not really like that interesting. I mean, it's got, the words are cool, but I mean, it's the same exact thing over and over and over. So, you know, like when we started playing it, it was just cool because it was like immediately everybody just sort of got, I don't really remember, I think it was just a natural thing, like everybody,
We had a lot of fun.
yeah, everybody just sort of got like the whole idea of just like building it really slowly, and yeah, we just worked it out to where like the whole idea was like to just every single section, every verse, like I guess that would be a verse or stanza or whatever. There's like, you know, each section
cool.
before it
steps are-
repeats,
builds up. I think it's
each
kind of cool.
section would have something new in it. You know?
It kind of like reintroduced, like the whole thing with this record is sort of like introducing us as a band back again, you know. And then like that song, more than any other ones, like how it starts off and then another layer comes on and then another layer comes on. It's like, here we are, hello.
Yeah.
It's a little introduction of all of us in a way. It's pretty cool.
And also, like, one cool thing about when Adrian started with this is that we hadn't really never like been a band that like jammed or anything. We always wanted to be, but we just somehow, we would be a band that would practice our songs and then we would go and be done with
Great,
practice.
now we're a jam band.
And,
Yeah.
no, but I just mean like we never just like got to that point where we were all just like hanging out, just like playing until, you know, like as long as we felt like just having fun, and it didn't have to be anything, playing anything specific. And also, we had been a three-piece for a long time, you know.
Not really.
I mean, when Adrian had come in, I mean, we had Spencer who practiced with us, but we didn't have like, you know, like writing sessions with him. And
We played for a couple months with just us three. I
yeah,
guess,
and
at
it
the
was kind of
beginning
like
the year.
difficult to, because we had four-piece songs, you know, and it was like Nikki was trying to make her transition to the guitar, but without a bass player. It was just really frustrating that we couldn't just sit down and like hang out and play music in the way that we wanted to. And so when Adrian came in, it was just like, that was one of the first things that happened. Is like the very first thing before we even showed him a song or anything, we all just naturally like, it can be a very delicate, vulnerable place to just like play whatever with other musicians, you know, because you don't, I don't know, it's just, it doesn't work with everybody. You have to have the right, you know, we all have like the sort of the all same disposition that's just sort of like let everybody go wherever they want to go. And we just immediately jumped into that. And I think that that was one of the things that like at least I wanted to like get on the record in some form. And that was like at the end of Oh God, that was like just an accident how we all just one time just ended up going into this crazy solo part. And we're just like, whoa, that was cool. Like what if
feel like I'm a crazy horse.
yeah, like what if that like is in the real song? And so then, you know, I mean, we did a lot, we tweaked that song with Roger and he had some really good ideas, but I feel like the big majority of the feel and everything is like just us practicing and feeling it out, you know.
Just was instantly fun, man, to start playing with you guys and hearing all the stuff like from where I left off with the material that I'd heard before, and then seeing what you guys are working on now, and seeing how like, whoa, this is a real big step, like just forward in a bunch of different directions, but like definitely moving forward, songwriting and everything else, and then just how much fun we were all having, just like it was like a relief for everyone. Like, oh, this isn't gonna be stressful at all. This is it's just fun.
Like music is not supposed to be like hard. I mean, not hard, but like it is hard, really hard, especially F. No, but I mean, it's like it's supposed to be like something that you enjoy doing. You know?
Right. Fair enough. In that whole discussion, though, I found it kind of interesting that you specifically sort of downplayed the lyrics. You kind of said, they're not very interesting. It just kind of says the same thing over and over again.
Well, I was talking about the melody.
Okay, well, the
not
melody.
The lyrics.
It's the same melody.
Okay, I got you then. That makes sense.
You just want to know what it's about, don't you?
Yeah.
No.
Go on,
Okay.
Jesse.
I didn't. No. Honestly, I mean, one of these things, like, well, we talked about this in our last interview. I think it was when we were talking about "Be Your Bro" or "Screws Get Loose," but I don't remember which song it was now. But it's sort of the thing about the very specific, when you're writing, sort of becoming the universal. The more you tell your own story, the more it means to everybody. And I think that obviously with this song, there's a lot of stuff that plays straight directly into your life. I mean, the whole drunk girl in the shower, crappy hotel, different town every day, all that stuff is the musician's life right there.
Or a hooker.
But yeah, one of the two. I mean, you have to be a traveling hooker though, because it's a different city.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that music is separate than like writing books. Like if you wrote a book, you wouldn't say like, oh, like George Pelicanos, you must be like a crime-fighting detective because you wrote, I did this or whatever.
Yeah.
In a song, you can
Interesting,
say it. Because I mean, when
perspective.
as soon as
I
it's
like that
Oh
idea.
God starts, I'm a drunk girl in the shower instantly. I was a drunk girl in the shower. I say it every time in my head.
Right.
But like it's just there's a weird line. There's supposed to be some reality in it. If there's something real in it, you can tell, But leaving it open like that, where people can kind of make up their own little story to it is pretty cool.
Yeah.
It has that looseness in it.
Right. Well, I think that's the thing, like, just being more of a prose writer myself, when you're writing something, a part of you always has to go into it, no matter what you're writing about. I mean, I can be writing about a character that's 100% opposite of me, but I'm writing it from the perspective of me.
Trying to find out what's real, and then that becomes where you add your part to the story, as a reader or as a listener.
Indeed.
Finding out what's the real part and what's not real.
Fair enough. So I mean, to sort of answer Nikki's question, to turn it around, I mean, what I found so intriguing about the song really was that, there was that strong sense of it being personal, and at the same time, the whole universality of the moods that you portrayed. But you don't necessarily need to know the full story. I mean, that's one of the things that's great about music, kind of touching on what you said, versus like a novel. If you're writing a novel, you would want to know what the ending was, or even what the hell you were talking about. In the song,
But
as a listener, you can
that's
kind of...
part of the whole point of the song is that I feel like so many people, especially on that song, I said that they really connect with that song. Like a lot, like old people, young people, people from all walks of life have been like, that song, I like get that song. And I think that it is because it's open-ended and you can put your own self into that. You know what I mean? Like people relate to it because it's like, that like I've been let down, or I've had my heart broken, or I've been, wronged, and I know that feeling, and I know like that, that place exactly where I was in the song or whatever. But I think if it was just like, this is what happened, then it wouldn't be as like easy to relate to,
Definitely got you. And I think also, I mean, I've told you many times that I'm a fan of your songwriting anyway, but I mean, I think because of what you just said and because of the quality of the writing, I think that's the best piece that you've ever done, personally,
Thank
so
you.
far as a songwriter. So,
I appreciate it.
no problem. So I think that's another reason why a lot of people connect with it, because it just is so, in tune with the way people think. But moving on to something completely different, if you don't mind, let's touch on the other song that you already have done a video for this album, which is Optimist. So I'm just gonna leave that one open because it is. I mean, no, it is. It is. It's like, in the one hand, it's completely different. It's an up-tempo piece. It's sort of, I guess, more of a fun-sounding song. But on the other hand, the lyrics are kind of twisted and dark a little bit, in that, it's almost about somebody losing hope in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
So I guess, how did you guys synthesize that song out of, the first kernel of the idea?
I wrote that song on the European tour that we did. We were in Germany, and this guy, and we did a radio interview, and this guy asked us.
Fight FM.
Yeah, and he was like, "Are you an optimist?" And I remember just literally being stumped at the question, because I was like, I don't know, am I? I don't know. I don't think am I? And then Lynn would answer, and I didn't say anything. Lynn would, I don't know what he said either. Remember. But
It's
I
on
couldn't
tape
stop
somewhere.
thinking about the question. Yeah, it,
Refuse to tell Germans anything.
someone heard it. But I couldn't stop
They're still
thinking
trying to take
about-
over the world, Sorry.
Oh, it's alright. I just couldn't stop thinking about the whole rest of the tour, and I just scribbled down some lyrics in the van, and then I don't know, we worked on the chords.
Yeah,
to
she
it.
came over one day. I used to have a lot more lyrics and stuff in it too.
Did it?
Yeah, I killed half of them.
I don't remember that.
Well, that song, I mean, it's kind of an old song, because we did that tour in 2012, about halfway through the year.
Mm-hmm.
I think literally right after we came back, you and I started
Yeah, that
working
was
on
the
that
first,
song.
That one and Can't Think were the first two songs for this album, I think.
Okay.
Besides Wilderness, that one was written way long time ago. But that one went through so much transformation, it's hardly the same song. Yeah.
Okay.
But
Were you saying something else after that? You cut the
Oh,
lyrics
just about
out?
the song? Oh, yeah, I think originally it was a little bit longer. There was more words, and we just tried to make it as, I don't know, we all like songs that are short and get to the point.
yeah.
It's nice to have a couple of those around.
It was kind of like Ramones influenced in a way, I was listening to a lot of Ramones when I was in Europe, and because I was just the whole time kind of
It's a long way
I don't
back
know
to
where
Germany.
the hell we are, and just having Ramones loud blasting my ears was just making me feel better, But I just really respect the way that Joey Ramone could always sing about really messed up stuff, but in a way that was so empowering, just being I'm a teenage lobotomy or whatever he wanted to say, and then just saying it and putting it out there, and then everybody else is like, I am too, So I guess that's kind of where the idea
I
came.
want to be your boyfriend, Joey.
Or I want to be sedated, or psychotherapy or whatever. He had schizophrenia, and he would just write about being messed up, and it was cool. So
Okay. Well, we'll get back to being messed up a little later. But I feel it's interesting that you actually mentioned the Ramones, because one of the stylistic changes I kind of saw in this album personally was that some of it was almost a throwback to your first album, in that there was a little bit more of a punk element, I thought, in a lot of it than on Screws Get Loose. Did you guys feel that way as well, or is...
wait, a punk aspect?
Not
I feel like
necessarily-
there's more, I don't know, I guess it depends on which way you're looking at it. Because on Screws Get Loose, there's definitely songs you can look at and say, these are punk songs, But I guess the first record, it's not so much the sound, it's the attitude.
Yeah,
I
I think-
it's more punk.
Right, I think that's kind of what, again, I'm a lyrics freak, you guys know
Yeah.
that. So usually when I say something like that, it's less about the music and more about
Sure.
the writing or the attitude.
Yeah.
It sort of caught me a little more as like, like early kind of a punk feeling, like a little bit more of a fuck the world feeling on some of it than on your last record. Maybe I'm completely off base.
No,
Love the
I
World
just feel
Tour,
like
trying
there's
to
a little
say
bit of that
Yeah.
on there's that on the last record too, but maybe there's more on this one. Maybe not. I'm not really sure.
It's not really for us to say yes
Yeah.
or no to that, really.
I'll answer this one.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm
Yeah.
not even really
Each
sure
album
what
gets
songs
more
are on
punk
this
than the
album,
last.
to be honest.
And is that your influence there, Adrian?
I can't help but influence these punks.
Okay.
Indeed. Well, the other thing that kind of caught my ear, actually musically, was it also seemed to me like you had a little bit more of kind of an 80s guitar rock feel on a couple of songs.
Such as.
Well, In the Wilderness really hit me as kind of like a dark version of Heart. I could be crazy, but that's what I thought of. She Blows kind of was, I'm not exactly sure who to compare that to, but it just kind of gave me that feeling of like, sort of early 80s, like semi-gothic, leather-wearing, dark-haired chicks kind of band, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know, again, I could be crazy, but that's kind of something that I heard in it too.
You're definitely crazy.
Okay.
I'm just kidding.
I mean, those two things are
mean,
not
I don't
mutually
think-
exclusive. Let's get that straight.
You can get. I mean, it's whatever you hear in the music.
Right.
So that's like it's awesome. Whatever you hear. I wouldn't say that there was any
Influence.
like
or
any
that
like
I want.
early '80s influence for any of the album necessarily, but
I might disagree with you on that.
maybe Linwood was. He was channeling it.
He's our resident
I could have
leather
been,
wearing
yeah.
80s diva.
You guys
I
could
would
have
think
been
like She Blows was kind of like Fleetwood Mac's.
That was the
Patti
other
Smith.
thing, yeah.
That was kind of where we were at. Like
Yeah.
Neil
Okay.
Young,
Closer
Patti
to, like-
Smith, Fleetwood Mac,
I definitely heard some Fleetwood Mac
Velvet
action in there.
Underground.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're crazy.
Yeah, I think
Not what she was.
doing what now? I think that it kind of goes back to what we were just discussing about the whole girl band thing. For you on the inside, it's completely different than for somebody on the outside talking about you because, I as a journalist have to classify you, and that means I have to compare you to something. You know what I'm saying? So I have to find maybe a little strain that works out here or whatever. So I guess I'm just trying to get to the bottom of that a little bit. But no, fair enough. So in sort of, I think, even more kind of a Velvet Underground-y take, and in a lot of ways more early psychedelia, you had Western Sky. That one kind of, to me, harkened back a little bit to Mystic Mind from the last album. It was sort of a very kind of free-flowing stream of consciousness kind of lyrically, with a lot of like howling guitar and stuff going on there. So what can you tell me about that particular piece?
I wrote it in the on a tour that we did that was out west in America, and we were driving through the desert, and I don't know, I was just like thinking a lot about our
The sky.
yeah, I was thinking about the sky out there. No, but just like our descent from connecting with nature and like and our like dependency on technology and how we're all like sort of like just like so obsessed with technology and how like it was just driving me crazy, and I just wanted to like go somewhere where there was no technology, there was nothing that any man had made, and just be like out in nature alone, like playing music and or singing even, like with my own voice that just came naturally to me, and not like or maybe not even alone, I mean like maybe with a group of people even, but just like being somewhere where you don't hear the interstate and you have no civilization around. you know. I mean, that's like the basis of the idea. That's not the full total idea of the whole song, which I could probably talk about for like, you know, a couple hours. But that's
We don't
really
have a couple
just, like,
hours, but expand a little bit because I found it a very interesting piece.
I don't know. Like, it's hard for me to do right now off the cuff, but
Okay.
Just in
Well,
the-
let me get specific.
it was also about a dream. I was out there in the middle of the desert, and I had this dream about that painting by who did that painting? The painting of the lion
The
and
lion.
the guy sleeping in the sand, you know, at night.
No, I don't know.
Can't remember.
Look it up.
I'm gonna use.
Lynn's
use
gonna use
technology
technology to
to
find
find
out
the
about your
line.
ad technology
Or maybe it's a
song.
woman. It's a person. I don't know if it's a woman or a man, but
think it's
I had
a
a
man with a
dream
hat
about
on.
that painting, and it was just really like.
Seems like Dolly, but who knows?
No,
no,
it's
not Dolly.
It's,
someone who's a little bit better than Dolly.
Oh, okay.
A little more skilled
that's an
painter.
opinion.
Not as good of a mustache. Though.
Art critics, those guys.
Yeah. Like, don't start talking about Dolly.
And it was like sort of like it was just sort of like this like vision of like a really large ferocious creature that was just like peacefully watching over me in my sleep. I was dreaming about the painting but also in the painting, but I was also the lion and the person, and it was just sort of like the beginning of the song is just about being like and the lion is like a very masculine, like
Symbol.
yeah, but not just
Archetype.
masculine. It's not the only word. But
Okay.
like you know, like well, the king of the jungle, like the leader, like the
Projecting strength. kind
yeah, the strength and sort of like so it's sort of like representative of this one part of me, but then being like the person sleeping on the sand is like the vulnerability. And I was thinking about like the lion sleeps with the lamb, you know, like the biblical reference. And it was just sort of about like being in harmony with nature and like also just like embracing the feminine, the masculine, and like you know, strength and vulnerability at the same time. In the Minotaur is like about like the labyrinth of life, and like, you know, like the labyrinth is sort of like the city, you know, the civilization that you're just like constantly being like thrown, you know, trying to find your way. I felt like I was trying to find my way out of it, you know.
Okay. So, I guess the line that's most easy to pick out from that, because it's from the refrain, is I don't want to hear another civilized roar, and let's make our own noise as the follow-up. So I guess from what you're saying, it sounds like there's two elements at once, you know. You're kind of, in one sense, railing against civilization as in our technological progress and getting away from nature, but also it seems like you have an issue with civilization as far as a social construct and how that sort of puts you into constraints as well. Am I pretty well on that, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think it like going back to like the feminine and masculine identity too. I feel like it's like what you're talking about, like in terms of just like the social construct or whatever. It's sort of like about like just being a woman in a world where it's like male dominated and like it's sort of like I can't really explain it. Like just I mean, this is all like really broad terms in
Right,
terms of like
obviously.
describing this, but like it's not about like the song isn't about like being a woman or anything. It's not like a feminist like manifesto or anything, but it's just like it's sort of about just like the balance between the masculine and feminine powers, you know, and sort of like a call for equality. You know?
Right. Well, I think in sort of every sense what you're talking about in the song is sort of you identifying as the other, it seems to me, if that makes sense. You know, whatever the sort of dominant feature in the society is, you're kind of the other part of that, the underdog, the one that doesn't get noticed, and it's sort of like I think the make your own noise part is about sort of like breaking out of that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. That's a good point. It's also about like just individuality, like making your own noise. What does that mean? What's your own noise? What kind of sound are you gonna make? Maybe it's a roar, or maybe it's like a chirp because you're a little bird. But just because like maybe I'm a little girl. I'm 5'1" and I weigh like 95 pounds, but I'm a lion, you know what I mean? Like, and sometimes I'm a lion, and sometimes I can be like a little mouse, but like, it doesn't matter. Like, if you're, I guess it's like, not to sound like a total hippie, but it's sort of like about the idea of the yin yang, that like everybody is like, everything is intrinsic, and there's like all of the, like every woman has a little bit of man inside of her. Every man has a little bit of woman inside of her. And it's like every lion has a little bit of like a mouse, and every mouse has a little bit of a lion. You know what I mean? It's like, it's all...
I do.
It's all connected, but it's whatever.
It's sort of like everybody has everything in the spectrum somewhere within them. They just tend to fall towards one end or the other in most circumstances.
Yeah, or just ignore the other parts because society says this is
all of their sides.
Yeah, like society says this is what a man is, this is what a woman is, and this is what a man should be, this is what a woman should be, or not just, it doesn't have to be about men and women, but that's just one specific example.
Okay, fair enough. And then there's just one more song that I want to bring up before you guys get ready to rock here, which is the final track. Which is also the title track, Blur the Line, which I found interesting because it was kind of a semi-hidden little thing at the end there, which most people don't do with the title track of the album. But
breaking with some new ground, I suppose.
Oh yeah, going crazy there. But I thought that was particularly interesting because it kind of goes back in a lot of ways to the opening track, the first one we talked about, because like My God, it's a very personal composition. Can you first of all just kind of give me where it came from and what you were thinking about when you wrote it?
I was sort of like, this whole album was sort of just like a huge process of personal growth and like self-exploration. And I would say that like I spent a lot of time alone. Me and Nikki both did. She spent a lot of time alone as well, writing. And it wasn't necessarily just like trying to write songs, but just a lot of journaling and like kind of just exploring. I don't really know how to describe it besides just like putting a pen to the paper and just spending hours just writing a lot of stream of conscious stuff or whatever, and like and yeah, I don't know, this one night I just like wrote all night long, and it was just like the most like intense experience I've ever had, like doing any type of art. It was like really I don't know, all this, it was like I was like not even myself. Like it was like all this stuff was coming out of me that I didn't even really understand, or like where it was coming from or whatever. It was like like as if another person had taken over my hand and was writing on the paper. And whenever I got done and read back through what I wrote, it was like so intense. It was just like the most intense. I mean, I can't really explain what it was because it was really personal, but it was just like a lot of things I didn't realize about myself, and just really crazy moment. And I felt like exhausted, but I also felt like I was like at the like extreme point of being vulnerable. Like I just felt like nothing. I mean, I don't know. It was just crazy. So the next day we had practice, and I came in and I hadn't written a song out of all that. I just had been writing. And then the next morning I came into practice, and I was just like really, I mean, during this whole period, it was like so much learning about myself that like a lot of the time I wasn't really like spending very much time with people. Like when I came into band practice, I was pretty like a lot of the times would be like pretty like within myself, but everybody like knew I was sort
Rousseau
of
did the painting.
Rousseau.
Yeah.
There you go.
Last song, but okay.
But you know, they kind of just like would not like would just let me be and understood, and I was really grateful for that. So I came in and I was feeling that way, but nobody really like questioned me. I was just sort of I was like literally on the verge of tears, like the whole like I was so like kind of not freaked out, but just it felt like honestly like a cleansing or something. Like I just gotten all this stuff off of my chest that I was just like so raw and like bare afterwards. And I was kind of worried about going to practice because I felt like I was just going to cry like in the middle of everything. Like I didn't feel like I could do anything actually productive. But as soon as I got there, I walked in the room, and then all of a sudden I just was like, everyone was setting up, or it was just Lynn and Nikki actually, and they were just setting up, and I was like, hold on a second. And then I went and just sat on the couch and pulled out my notebook because I just had this melody in my head. And I picked up my guitar and I literally just like sat there and like wrote the whole song. I mean, there was excerpts from what I had written the night before, but like it came out perfectly and like just it was the exact right, like the right order. It was a very rare moment. Usually songs take a little bit more work than that in terms of structure, and it just came out in the melody and everything. And then like, you know, we were planning on working on another song that day, but I was like, can we try this? And we just immediately, as soon as I finished it, started playing it as a band, worked it up, and then it became a song. So that's sort of where that that was how the song came about. But I would say that song is really interesting to bring up right after we talk about Western Sky, because that song is also about the same thing, like the balances of life or whatever, and about opposing forces basically, like and their connections with each other. Like it's sort of like tonight and every single night I blur the line between sanity, insanity, strength, vulnerability, male, female, nature, technology. I feel like there's something else that good and evil. That's a huge one. That's the last line before the last chorus. I'm an evil with a steeple. It's like the good and evil that's inside every human being. And like I feel like a lot of people think, and it's sort of taught that like you're either bad or you're good, but everybody's good and bad, you know, and you can choose to be whatever you want to be, but you know it doesn't matter if you're a saint. You still got the evil inside of you. You know, you just have to learn to like deal with it, and I feel like and the whole point is sort of like facing your fears and your discrepancies as a person, or I'm saying yours, but really I'm talking about mine, facing my fears, my discrepancies.
I should probably do that too.
Yeah.
Let's face it. I'm as fucked up as you are, my friends.
I always end up saying your, and I really mean me, but I guess what I'm saying is that like in order for me, like as hard as it was to get to that point the night before, and I felt so like crazy or whatever, that actually made me feel stronger in the end, because I just like took I took that beast sort of and just looked it in the eyes and was like, all right, you know, I'm gonna honestly acknowledge you, and therefore conquer you, you know. So that's sort of what the song is about.
Okay.
And like trying to think that yeah, I mean, I guess that's really
Well, I think what kind of interests me the most, in addition to all the themes that you were just talking about, is, you know, we sort of talked previously about kind of the girl image of the band, and also the way that you have sort of used the whole feminine sexuality thing one way or the other. You know, when you were doing Be Your Bro, the video and all that. And obviously, you getting up on stage, hardly ever have any clothes on. And yet, I've never really felt that at any time you've ever been as naked as you were in this song. You know, I mean, because it's so emotional and it's so just literally laying everything about you out there. So to me, that's what struck me about it. And I think you sort of did a good job of kind of, you know, deconstructing that and all the different parts of your psyche that were coming out. So very cool. And I definitely have to recommend it to anybody who's going to listen to the album. It's a great song.
Thank you very much.
Indeed. So one last thing. Nikki, would you come over so we can hear you a little bit better? I'm sorry. We had a little bit of technical difficulties for those of you listening, and we kind of had to move here. So I realized that once again, just by chance or happenstance or what struck me, I focused a lot on Jesse's writing throughout the interview. So I sort of want to give you an opportunity too to kind of, you know, for people who haven't heard the album yet or who, you know, might be thinking about checking it out, can you just tell them, you know, what maybe your favorite piece is on the album and how you came about creating it or anything like that?
My favorite piece on the album?
Or just something that you wrote
like
that you feel like, you know, is particularly something you're proud of or whatever.
I mean, I'm proud of all of everything on the record, whether it be the songs that I wrote lyrically or not. So, I mean, I'm really proud of this record.
They're all your
Overall.
children?
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel the same way. Like, it's like
I'm not going to be like, my song is the best because, or
Well,
whatever.
Well, no,
like,
I'm not saying that.
No,
You know
I know
what
what you mean,
yeah.
but like, I don't really want to like convince anyone or, I don't know, lure them into like some,
You should listen to this one because it's so
yeah,
much
like
better than the
listen
others.
to it
or-
if you want to
I mean,
listen
do you
to
have
it.
any
and-
thoughts about In the Wilderness, maybe, since that's one that I feel like has like a greater depth behind the lyrics that like a lot of people don't pick up, sort of like Western Sky.
I do kind of agree with that. I did want to talk more about that one, so
Yeah.
I think that'd be a good one.
But there's a lot that has to do with like my personal sexuality and the way I feel about men and women, or at least my relationships with men, and how men perceive me. And it's always kind of like you always kind of see this character and you sum them up, and you're like, this is who you are. And then when you find out who they actually are, you're just like, what? You know, and like in the frustration, but also the allure of like mystery, and that it's outside of just sexuality and people in general, but like, you know, anything, you know, like being like, I want something that I don't, like the unknown. I like
wilderness.
starving for, yeah, the wilderness, the mystery, whatever it is. Just always feeling like that's where you want to be. And it's really difficult to get to. And when you get there and you find out something, then then you want something else. You know?
Okay. Well, it's interesting that you phrase it that way, because in that way there's some parallels to what you were talking about with what was the next to last song that we were talking about? I forgot which one it was.
Joy the One or Optimist?
No, before. No.
Western Sky?
Yes. Sorry, all of them mixed together, and I forgot which one we were talking about for a second there. Western Sky. Yeah, I mean, in some ways, the ideas of the wilderness that you're talking about, even though they're
similarities
yeah.
in those two songs.
At the same time, I found it kind of interesting because, as far as your role in the group, I always find you're kind of the go-to girl for the sort of sultry kind of stuff, and that song I think sort of highlighted that. In sort of an ironic way, being what you were talking about. You know, like you just said, I think in some ways you're kind of pigeonholed that way, and
There's
maybe
lots of sides to me, just as, you know,
right.
the same with Jesse, too. I mean, people, I don't know, whatever. You see us however you want to see us.
Right. Well, I think also
And the songwriting, of course, like, creates a character for yourself. And,
right.
And our characters have, like, kind of changed over the years.
I also think that In the Wilderness sort of has another connection. I mean, all of the songs on the album really do have like themes that go within each other. Like
Right.
we could probably relate one to the other, like from the beginning to the end. But I would say that another connection in the wilderness. Back to what we were talking about, Western Sky, just like the idea of like show your teeth, let them beg, like sort of the lion aspect and like the
Call to
strength.
arms.
Yeah, and same thing, make your own noise. It's the same thing, like show your teeth. It's like, you know, sort of like buck up and like, you know.
Be a badass, like you said before.
Yeah, but also it's that goes back to the connection with nature as well. We belong in the
there's a lot of-
wilderness, and then
Red and Tooth and Claw and all
A lot
that.
of
yeah.
themes like that throughout the record.
And I mean, and also Nikki's song "Drive," which is like using your legs and walking around instead of like using machinery. That's kind of the same similar idea, and that runs through both of those songs as well, with the getting back to nature type of theme or whatever you call it.
Fair enough. And I think just to sort of strike another sort of chord that runs through those, Drive, you have the lines about, I think it's I'll be the wheel, I'll be the road, all that, right? I think that's sort of in the same way as you were talking about, shows having multiple sides in one person and sort of, different roles that you can play and all that. So I think that's another way that they're all tied together.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that we've covered a lot. If you guys have one final thought just for people who might be interested in the album that you think they should know or anything like that, or if Adrian or Lynn wants to kick anything else in, I don't know.
We've got another video coming out really soon for In the Wilderness.
Okay.
So check that out if you haven't already picked up the record. You should do so and
Indeed.
check that out. That song and video out as soon as they come out.
Okay. Well, I'll be looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Your videos are always entertaining, no matter what they're about.
Yeah.
This one will be.
Yeah.
It's going to be...
This will be our best one yet.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Really excited
Okay.
about it.
Very cool. Very cool. So everybody look on Vivo for that, correct? And I'm sure that you can find it on No Surf Tube. I will definitely link to it under the No Surf Friends section, so you guys will see it there as well. But I really want to thank all four of you for joining us today.
Yeah.
It's been great to talk to you again, and I'm really looking forward to the show tonight because it's been quite a bit too long since I've seen you live. So, once again, I love these guys. If you haven't heard them, I think you will too. So everybody go check out Blur the Line. It's in any online store or your local record stores. Thanks again to those Darlins, and have a great night. All right.
Thank you.
And this has been another edition of No Surf Music's Burning River Fireside Chats. This is your host, Jason D. Diesel HAMAD, signing off. This has been a No Surf Music Burning River Fireside Chat. This is your host, Jason D. Diesel HAMAD, signing off. Remember, No Surf Music is your source for the best in Americana, alt-country, indie rock, and more. For original reviews and interviews, visit nosurfmusic.com.